No species will ever forget the moment. Humans finally lost their patience. Part 1 Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for nearly 70 years. When first contact was made with the Aralaxians in 2089, Earth celebrated the discovery that they were not alone in the universe. Captain Frank Mason of the United Earth Fleet stood tall on the bridge of the UES Discovery as the alien ship approached. His heart beat fast, but his face showed nothing but calm. "Send the welcome message again," he told Communications Officer Susan Clark. "All frequencies, all languages we have." The alien ship, smooth and silver against the blackness of space, stopped just 500 kilometers away. For 3 long days, they just watched each other. Then finally, the aliens answered. The Aralaxians were tall, blue-skinned beings with 4 arms and large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. They spoke through a translator device that made their high-pitched sounds into flat, mechanical English. "We represent the Galactic Council," the Aralaxian leader said. 17 species working together in peace. We have watched your world for some time." Within 6 months, Ambassador Diane Powell led the first human delegation to Nexus Station, the massive space structure where the Council gathered. Humans across Earth watched the broadcast as Powell stepped onto the station, her face showing the wonder they all felt. "This is the start of a new age for humanity," she said to the cameras. "Together with our new galactic friends, we will reach heights we never dreamed possible." But the initial excitement quickly faded. At the first full council meeting, the human representatives were placed at a small table far from the main circle. When Powell tried to speak, the council head, a reptilian Zodani named Grand Minister Kelth, cut her off. "Earth representatives may observe only," he said, his scales shifting color from green to orange. "You have not yet proven yourselves worthy of vote or voice." Powell looked shocked but held her tongue. Later, in private, she argued with Kelth. "We came in peace and friendship," she said. "We ask only to be treated as equals." The Zodani's mouth twisted in what humans would later learn was their version of a smile. "Equal? Your species only recently stopped killing each other over skin color and imaginary borders. You have barely mastered basic space travel. The Zodani had colonies on 100 worlds before your people invented the wheel." This was how the pattern began. Year after year, humans followed council rules. They shared their resources, limited their expansion to approved sectors, and copied council technology only when permitted. Always they were told the same thing: be patient, follow the rules, and one day you will be accepted. By 2120, Earth had colonies on Mars, Venus, and several moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Their ships could travel faster than light, but only using the approved council engines that were already generations behind what other species used. Earth's third ambassador, John Miller, continued to attend council meetings where he was allowed to watch but rarely speak. "We must be patient," he told Earth's president. "To challenge them now would be suicide. The Zodani alone have more warships than Earth has civilian vessels, and they are only one of 17 species. The humans worked hard to prove themselves. They helped the plant-like Verdani during their sun's radiation crisis. They provided medical aid when disease struck the Helveran colonies. They even fought alongside council forces when the dangerous non-council Morgat raiders attacked shipping lanes near Proxima Centauri. For their efforts, humans received small tokens of appreciation, but never real respect or equality. In 2142, the Mars colony faced a terrible problem. A new virus spread through the domed cities, causing high fever and lung failure. Dr. Elizabeth Wright, Mars colony's head doctor, sent urgent requests to the Council Medical Committee. "We have identified the virus, but we cannot create a treatment fast enough," she explained in her message. "Our people are dying. Council records show a similar outbreak on Zodani colony CP29 10 years ago. Please share the treatment you developed." The committee took 3 months to reply. By then, over 4,000 colonists had died. The message was short: treatment information is classified under Council Regulation 5532. Request denied. When Elizabeth watched the recorded message, she threw her tablet against the wall so hard it shattered. They have the cure, she whispered to her empty office. They just don't think we deserve it. 2,000 more died before Earth scientists created their own treatment. Earth sent its 7th ambassador to the Council in 2155. Paul Richardson was young but smart, with degrees in alien cultures and psychology. He believed he could succeed where others had failed. We need a new approach, he told President Catherine Summers before leaving Earth. 70 years of being the quiet, obedient junior species has gotten us nowhere. Be careful, Paul, the president warned. The Council tolerates us because we don't cause trouble. We can't afford to make enemies. Richardson nodded, but his eyes showed determination. There's a difference between causing trouble and demanding respect. It's time they learned that difference. At his first council meeting, Richardson broke protocol by standing when he was supposed to remain seated. The chamber, a vast room with representatives from all 17 council species, fell silent. Earth has been patient, Richardson said, his voice clear and strong. For nearly 70 years we have followed every rule, obeyed every restriction. We have watched our people die when council technology could have saved them. We have limited our growth when our population needed room to expand. We have shared our unique art, music, and literature freely, only to be told it is primitive and simple. Grand Minister Torque, the current Zodani leader, banged his ceremonial staff on the floor. The human representative will be seated or removed. Richardson remained standing. We didn't join the council to be servants. We joined as equals. If equality is not possible, perhaps humanity should reconsider its membership. This caused whispers among the council members. No species had ever threatened to leave. The Zodani and their close allies, the insect-like Volrani, looked angry, but some of the other species seemed thoughtful. That night, Richardson received a visitor in his quarters on the station. It was Jala, a representative of the Medusan species who rarely spoke at meetings. Your words today were brave, Jala said, her translucent skin pulsing with light patterns that showed her emotions, but also dangerous. The Zodani do not forget what they see as disrespect. Then perhaps it's time they learned a new lesson, Richardson replied. Humans have been pushed aside for too long. Be careful what you wish for, Ambassador. Jala said softly. The Council has ways of dealing with troublesome species that you cannot imagine. As she left, Richardson wondered if he had made a terrible mistake or taken the first step toward something important. Either way, he knew the decades of quiet acceptance were coming to an end. What no one in the Council realized was just how dangerous humans could be when they finally lost their patience. No species will ever forget the moment. Humans finally lost their patience. Part 2. The incident that would change everything happened near Jupiter's orbit. A scientific outpost studying the gas giant's strange weather patterns floated silently in space. 47 of Earth's best scientists worked there, led by Commander Lisa Bennett. She had been at the outpost for 3 years and loved watching Jupiter's swirling storms through the big viewing window. We've got an unscheduled ship approaching, said Security Officer Peter Goldman one morning. He looked worried as he checked his screens. It's Zodani military class. Lisa frowned. The Zodani rarely came to this part of the solar system. When they did, they never brought good news. Open communications and send the standard greeting, Lisa ordered. Follow all protocols exactly. The message went out. Jupiter Science Outpost welcomes Zodani vessel. We are a peaceful research station operating under Council Permit 87239B. Please state your purpose in this sector. The Zodani ship, dark and shaped like a blade, moved closer. It was much larger than the outpost and bristled with weapons. Their reply came through with the cold, flat voice that all translation computers used. This is Patrol Vessel Darkfang under command of Sub-Lieutenant Krez. We are conducting routine security sweep of this sector. Lisa nodded to Peter. Send them our identification codes and research permit. The codes were sent. The Zodani ship continued to approach. Commander, Peter said, his voice suddenly tense. They're powering up weapon systems. Lisa grabbed the communication controls herself. Zodani vessel, this is Commander Bennett. We are an unarmed research station. There must be some mistake. On the main screen, they could see the Jodani ship's forward guns begin to glow with energy. There was no response to their calls. Lisa hit the station-wide alarm. All personnel, to emergency pods, this is not a drill. She looked at Peter. Send emergency signal to Earth Fleet Command. Let them know what's happening. But it was too late. The Jodani ship fired a single, bright beam that cut through the outpost's main section. The structure broke apart, air rushing out into space. Emergency doors slammed shut, but the damage was too great. One by one, the sections of the outpost exploded or went dark. Not a single emergency pod had time to launch. The Jodani ship turned and left the area without sending any further messages. Back on Earth, news of the attack spread like wildfire. People crowded around screens in homes, offices, and public spaces. They watched as pictures of the 47 dead scientists were shown one by one. Many were young, some had children. Commander Bennett's 12-year-old son stood stone-faced at her funeral as he was handed the Earth flag that had covered her empty coffin. President Catherine Summers called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. This was not an accident, she said, her face tight with anger. The Jodani knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that outpost was unarmed. They knew who was on board. General Alan Foster nodded grimly. It was a message. They're telling us to back down after Ambassador Richardson's speech at the council. What are our options? The president asked. The defense minister looked troubled. Militarily, we're no match for them. If we attacked a Jodani ship or colony, they would use it as an excuse to declare full war. We wouldn't last a month. Ambassador Richardson joined the meeting by secure link from Nexus Station. The council has called an emergency session about the incident. I'll be allowed to speak. 2 days later, Richardson stood before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from all 17 species. He noticed that some seemed disturbed by what had happened. Others, like the Jodani delegation, looked bored. The unprovoked destruction of our research outpost was an act of war, Richardson said clearly. 47 civilians were killed, while conducting peaceful scientific work approved by this very council. First Minister Xal of the Jodani rose slowly. He was larger than most of his kind, with scales that shifted between deep green and black. The council recognizes the unfortunate incident near the gas giant of the human system, he said. After investigation, we found that a junior officer mistook your outpost for an unauthorized military installation. This was a regrettable error in judgment. Error? Richardson's voice rose. Your ship scanned our station. We sent proper identification. We were clearly marked as a scientific outpost. Xal made a dismissive gesture with his clawed hand. Sub-Lieutenant Krez has been reprimanded. The Jodani Consortium offers its formal apology and compensation. Compensation? Richardson looked at the digital tablet handed to him by a council aide. This amount wouldn't even pay for 1/10 of the outpost, let alone compensate the families of those killed. It is the standard amount according to Council Regulation 2435 for accidental destruction of property, Xal replied. People died. Richardson slammed his hand on the table. Children lost parents. This was not an accident. The council head, a Medusan named Teller, called for order. The council will now vote on whether to accept the Jodani explanation and compensation offer as full settlement of this matter. Richardson watched in disbelief as species after species voted to accept the Jodani story. Only the Medusans and the plant-like Verdani hesitated before adding their agreement. The final vote was 16-0, with Earth abstaining in protest. This matter is now closed, announced Teller, looking apologetically at Richardson. As the council members began to leave, Xal approached Richardson. He leaned close, his reptilian eyes cold. Let this be a lesson, human, he said quietly. The council works a certain way. Those who try to change it often suffer accidents. Push too hard and your homeworld might have an accident next. That night, Richardson sent an encrypted message to President Summers. They won't help us. We're on our own. The president read the message and sat in silence for a long time. Then she called for her military advisor. General Foster, she said when he arrived. It's time to discuss the Ghost Division. Foster looked surprised. Madam, President, that program is our most classified project, are you sure? I'm sure, she said firmly. Connect me to Admiral George Patel. It's time to activate what they've been working on. Across Earth, people watched news reports about the Council's decision. Anger grew. Protests formed outside alien embassies. Military recruitment doubled. Overnight, on screens around the world, the faces of the dead scientists were shown constantly. Commander Bennett's son appeared on a popular news program. My mom believed in peace, he said, his young voice steady despite his tears. She said aliens and humans could work together and learn from each other. The Jodani proved her wrong. In secret facilities deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral George Patel gathered his team. For 30 years they had been preparing for this possibility. While Earth publicly maintained peaceful relations with the Council, the Ghost Division had been developing technologies that the aliens never imagined humans could create. The President has given us authorization, Patel told the room of scientists and military personnel. Project Quietus is now active. Dr. Olivia Carter, the lead scientist, nodded grimly. How much time do we have? 6 months, Patel replied. We need to deploy everything within 6 months. It will be enough, Carter said. They've never taken us seriously. That will be their biggest mistake. As they spoke across the solar system, the pieces of a plan long in the making began to move into place. Humanity's patience had lasted 70 years. It would not last much longer. No species will ever forget the moment. Humans finally lost their patience. Part 3. What the Galactic Council never understood was how humans worked when pushed into a corner. For the past 30 years, a secret group within Earth's military had been quietly developing technologies that no alien species expected from primitive humans. The Ghost Division operated from a hidden base deep under the Pacific Ocean. No records of it existed in any official database that the Council could access. Even most of Earth's leaders did not know about it. Admiral George Patel walked through the large underground complex, nodding to the scientists and soldiers who worked there. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and eyes that missed nothing. Today he was heading to meet with Dr. Olivia Carter in her lab. Show me where we stand, he said as he entered the room filled with strange equipment. Dr. Carter was shorter than most of her team, with dark hair pulled back tightly and hands that moved quickly as she talked. She pointed to a small device. On the table, no bigger than a coin. This is what will change everything, she said. We call it the disruptor. It's very small, Patel noted, picking it up carefully. Size doesn't matter, Carter replied with a small smile. What matters is what it does. She took the device and placed it near a communication unit similar to those used on Council ships. She turned it on and stepped back. After a few seconds, the communication unit began to show strange patterns on its screen, then shut down completely. The disruptor doesn't attack their systems directly, Carter explained. Instead, it creates tiny disturbances in their quantum communication network. These disturbances grow larger as they spread. Within minutes, entire systems begin to fail. And they can't stop it? Patel asked. They won't even see it coming, Carter said. For 30 years, we let them think we were still trying to understand their basic technology, all while we were studying its weaknesses. Patel nodded slowly. How many of these devices do we have? Just over 10,000, Carter said, and we can make 500 more each day. Begin production around the clock, Patel ordered, and prepare a team to start deployment. During the next 5 months, tiny, unmanned ships left Earth under cover of darkness. Each carried hundreds of disruptors. These ships were different from normal human vessels. They used no Council technology and were nearly invisible to standard scanners. The ships traveled to every corner of Council space. They left disruptors floating near major space stations, military bases, and along key travel routes. To any alien, sensors that detected them, they looked like simple space debris or broken satellites. No one noticed the pattern forming across known space. No one realized that Earth was placing the pieces of a weapon unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Meanwhile, on the surface, humanity continued to act as they always had. Ambassador Richardson attended council meetings. Trade ships followed their approved routes. Earth citizens showed proper respect to visiting aliens, even as anger burned inside them. President Summers addressed the people of Earth in a carefully worded speech. We continue to seek justice through proper channels. Violence is not the answer. Patience has served humanity well and will continue to do so. The speech was broadcast across council space. The Jodani representatives watched it and laughed among themselves about the weak humans who could only complain, but never act. 6 months after the Jupiter incident, another event pushed humans past their breaking point. A civilian transport, ship carrying families to the Saturn colonies, was approached by a Jodani patrol. You are entering a restricted sector, the Jodani commander transmitted, even though the transport was well within approved human travel zones. Captain Maria Gonzalez of the transport ship responded calmly. This is scheduled transport ETS Horizon, following approved flight path CP-27. We have 112 civilians on board, including 38 children. Please check your navigation data. You will change course immediately. The Jodani ship responded. We cannot safely change course at this point in our journey, Captain Gonzalez explained. We have council clearance for this route. Please contact Council Traffic Control if you have concerns. Without further warning, the Jodani ship fired on the transport. Unlike the Jupiter station, the ship had some basic shields. They managed to launch most of the escape pods before the main engines exploded. 94 people survived. 18 died, including Captain Gonzalez, who stayed behind to make sure the last pods launched safely. When news reached Earth, something changed. The patience that had defined humanity's approach to the Council for 70 years vanished like morning mist under a hot sun. President Summers called Admiral Patel to the White House that night. Is everything ready? She asked simply. Yes, madam. President, he replied. The network is in place. We can activate it whenever you give the order. The president looked at the pictures on her desk. They showed the faces of those who had died on the Jupiter outpost and now on the transport ship. Among them was a photo of a small girl, only 4 years old, who had been on the horizon with her parents. The parents survived. The girl did not. They think we are weak, the president said quietly. They think we have no choice but to accept whatever they do to us. They are wrong. Admiral Patel nodded. Dr. Carter has confirmed that the effects will be temporary. Systems will reset after 6 hours. No permanent damage, no lives lost. Unlike them, we value all life, the president said. This is not about revenge. It's about respect. She picked up a secure phone and pressed a single button. This is President Summers, execute Operation Quietus. In the Ghost Division headquarters, Dr. Carter received the order. She turned to her team and nodded once. A young officer named Jack Wells pressed a series of commands into a console. Activation signal sent, he reported. All disruptors will engage in exactly 30 minutes. Dr. Carter checked her watch. Just enough time for the president's message. Across council space, hidden disruptors received the signal and prepared to activate. The aliens continued their normal activities, unaware that everything was about to change. On the Jodani homeworld, Grand Minister Kazal was attending a victory celebration. His government had just forced the Medusans to give up rights to a mineral-rich asteroid belt. He raised a drink to toast his success. At that exact moment, President Summers requested an emergency communication with the full council. Protocol required all representatives to attend immediately. As the aliens gathered in the council chamber, confused by the sudden call, screens activated to show the human president's face. Her expression was calm but determined. For 70 years, she began, humanity has shown patience that ends today. No species will ever forget the moment humans finally lost their patience. Part 4 on May 17th, 2159, at exactly 0300 Universal Time, President Summers stood before the camera. Her image was being sent to the council chamber, where all 17 species had gathered, confused by the emergency call. Her face showed no fear, only calm determination. For 70 years we have endured your condescension, your restrictions, and your injustice, she began. We accepted your rules. We followed your laws. We believed that patience would eventually earn us respect. In the council chamber, the Zhodani representatives shifted uncomfortably. First Minister Kazal made a dismissive gesture. Another human. Complaint, he said loudly. They do nothing but talk. President Summers continued as if she had heard him. That patience has now been exhausted. You mistook our restraint for weakness, our diplomacy for fear. Today you will learn how wrong you were. As she spoke, across council space, the tiny disruptors activated all at once. The effect was immediate and widespread. On the massive Zhodani, battleship Warclaw, Admiral Vrex was the first to notice something wrong. Navigation is failing, reported a junior officer, his scales turning pale gray with alarm. Weapon systems are shutting down. Restart everything, Vrex ordered. But nothing worked. Across the ship, every system that used quantum communications began to fail. Life support switched to emergency power. Artificial gravity flickered. The same scene played out on thousands of vessels across the galaxy. Orbital defense stations went dark. Planetary shields failed. Military bases lost contact with their fleets. In the council chamber, representatives watched in horror as emergency reports flooded their personal devices. The Volrani ambassador, an insect-like being, clicked rapidly in distress as he read, message after message. Our home defense grid is down, he chittered. All ships in the Volrani fleet are reporting critical failures. Similar cries came from every representative. Only the humans remained silent. On the main screen, President Summers watched their panic with steady eyes. We are not declaring war, she said clearly. We are not seeking revenge. We are simply demonstrating that your technological superiority is not as absolute as you believed. She paused to let her words sink in. Every vessel in your combined fleets is currently experiencing system failures. Your weapons are inoperable. Your communications are compromised. For the first time in 70 years, we are speaking to you as equals. First Minister Kazal jumped to his feet, his scales now bright red with rage. This is an act of war, he shouted. The Zhodani Consortium will reduce Earth to ash for this attack. President Summers smiled slightly. With what ships, Minister? With what weapons? Look around you. The galaxy's balance of power has shifted, and we didn't fire a single shot to do it. In the Ghost Division headquarters, Admiral Patel and Dr. Carter watched the events unfold on multiple screens. One showed the President's address. Others displayed status reports from across Council space. The disruptors are working perfectly, Dr. Carter said, checking data on her tablet. Complete system failures reported on all major military vessels and stations. Any casualties? Patel asked. Carter shook her head. None. Emergency life support is not affected. We made sure of that. Patel nodded with approval. Just as planned. This is not about killing. It's about sending a message. Back in the council chamber, chaos reigned. Some representatives shouted for guards who couldn't respond because their communication devices had failed. Others huddled in frightened groups. The Medusan representative Jala studied the situation with calm interest, her skin glowing with soft blue light. The humans have surpassed us all, she said quietly to no one in particular. On the screen, President Summers raised her hand for silence. Gradually, the room quieted. The effects are temporary, she explained. In approximately 6 hours, your systems will return to normal. No permanent damage has been done. No lives have been taken. Unlike you, we do not casually dismiss the value of sentient life. She looked directly at First Minister Kazal. 47 scientists at our Jupiter outpost. 18 civilians on the transport ship Horizon, including a 4-year-old girl who never harmed anyone. Remember their deaths when you speak of war, Minister. Kazal said nothing, but his scales had faded to a dull green-gray. President Summers continued. Ambassador Richardson will present our terms shortly. I suggest you listen carefully. We do not wish to be your enemies, but we will never again be treated as inferiors. The screen went dark. In the sudden silence, the council members looked at each other with new understanding. The humans could have destroyed them all but had chosen not to. Ambassador Richardson stepped to the center of the chamber. He carried a simple tablet with Earth's terms. Full membership with equal voting rights, he read. Unrestricted access to all shared technologies. Removal of all limitations on human expansion within unclaimed systems. Formal recognition of human sovereignty over the Sol system, including a 100-light-year security perimeter. He lowered the tablet and looked around the room. These terms are not negotiable. First Minister Kazal found his voice again. And if we refuse? Richardson looked at him steadily. Then we will be disappointed. And next time our patience runs out, the effects might not be temporary. The council head, teller of the Medusans, spoke for the first time. I call for an immediate vote on accepting the human terms. One by one, the representatives voted. The Jodani were last, their pride clearly hurt. But with their entire civilization temporarily helpless, they had no choice. The vote is unanimous, Teller announced. The terms are accepted. Richardson nodded once. A wise decision. As the council session ended, the representatives hurried away to check on their worlds and fleets. Only Jala of the Medusans remained behind. She approached Richardson. Your species surprised us all, she said. We thought we knew what humans were capable of. That was your mistake, Richardson replied. You saw what you expected to see. What happens now? Jala asked. Richardson looked thoughtful. Now we see if the council can truly accept humans as equals. Our patience may have limits, but our capacity for cooperation does not. Across council space, alien leaders waited anxiously for the 6 hours to pass. Some prepared secret plans for revenge. Others considered new alliances with the suddenly powerful humans. Exactly 6 hours after they activated, the disruptors shut down as promised. Ship systems returned to normal. Defense grids came back online. The galaxy continued to spin, but everything had changed, and every species knew it. The humans had proven they could bring the entire council to its knees without firing a single shot, and they had done it while following their strange human principle: minimize harm, preserve life, even when dealing with enemies. It would be a lesson no species would ever forget. No species will ever forget the moment humans finally lost their patience. Part 5. When the effects of the disruptors wore off as promised, the Galactic Council called another emergency meeting. This time, the large chamber looked very different. The small table where human representatives had sat for 70 years was gone. In its place was a full-sized seat at the main circle, equal to all others. Ambassador Richardson entered the chamber and noticed the change immediately. He nodded, with approval, but said nothing as he took his new place. The other representatives watched him carefully, their attitudes completely transformed from just 1 day earlier. Council Head Teller opened the session. As agreed, Earth is now recognized as a full council member with equal status and voting rights. All previous restrictions on human activities are lifted, effective immediately. Richardson looked around the circle. Humanity thanks the council for this recognition, though we all know it should have happened 70 years ago. No one argued with him. Even First Minister Kazal of the Jodani remained silent, his scales a dull color that showed his unhappiness. We will now transfer all technological data as requested, Teller continued. Council archives are open to Earth representatives. For the first time in council history, a human was invited to speak at the main podium. Richardson stood tall as he addressed the 17 species. Yesterday marked the end of one era and the beginning of another, he said. Humanity did not want to demonstrate our power this way. We would have preferred honest friendship and cooperation. Remember that in the days ahead. When he finished speaking, many representatives approached him with offers of trade, cultural exchanges, and military cooperation. The same species that had ignored humans for decades now sought their favor. Back on Earth, celebrations broke out in every city. People cheered in the streets as news spread about the Council's acceptance of all human terms. President Summers addressed a massive crowd in Washington, D.C. Today begins a new chapter for humanity, she said. We have earned our place among the stars not through conquest, but through strength tempered with mercy. Admiral Patel and Dr. Carter watched the speech on a screen in the Ghost Division headquarters. They had worked in secret for 30 years. Now everyone knew what they had accomplished. What happens to us now? Carter asked. The Ghost Division was created to defend Earth against the Council. That threat is gone. Patel smiled. Our mission changes. The President wants us to lead a new division focused on cooperation rather than disruption. The next morning, a surprising visitor arrived at Earth's spaceport. Jala, the Medusan representative, came without an official invitation. She requested a private meeting with President Summers. I come representing not the Medusans only, but 5 other species as well, Jala explained when they met. Her translucent skin glowed with patterns of blue and green light. We have suffered under Zodani influence for many years. They treated us as second-class members, much as they treated humans. President Summers listened carefully. What are you proposing? An alliance, Jala said. Not against the Council, but within it. Together, we would have enough votes to prevent any single species from dominating others as the Zodani have done. Summers considered the offer. We did not reveal our strength to become the new bullies of the galaxy. An alliance based on mutual respect interests us. Within weeks, the balance of power in the Council shifted dramatically. The Zodani, once the most influential species, found themselves isolated as their former allies sought Earth's friendship. Instead, the humans surprised everyone with their approach to their new status. They shared medical advances freely, helped rebuild aging space stations, and offered education exchanges. When the insect-like Volrani faced a food crisis after their farming colonies were hit by solar flares, Earth sent ships filled with emergency supplies before they even asked for help. I don't understand, a Volrani leader said to Richardson as they watched the human ships unload food supplies. Just last year, your Mars colony suffered while we did nothing. Why help us now? Because that's who we are, Richardson replied, simply. We remember what it's like to suffer while others look away. We choose to be better than those who wronged us. 6 months after Earth gained full Council status, the disruptors were officially deactivated and collected. In a ceremony broadcast across Council space, Dr. Carter personally shut down the last device. These were created out of necessity, not desire, she said as cameras recorded the moment. We hope never to need such measures again. Not everyone accepted the new order so easily. In secret meetings on the Zodani homeworld, military leaders plotted revenge. They built new ships with communication systems they believed would resist human disruption technology. They planned a surprise attack on Earth colonies, but the Zodani had forgotten something important. The same qualities that made humans patient for 70 years also made them cautious. The Ghost Division, though publicly transformed into a peaceful research organization, maintained careful watch on potential threats. When the Zodani fleet tried to launch their surprise attack, they discovered their new systems failed just like the old ones. A small human ship appeared near their main vessel, carrying only Admiral Patel. We hoped it wouldn't come to this again, his message said simply. Remember that we see you. We've always seen you. Choose peace, First Minister. For all our sakes. The Zodani fleet returned to their homeworld. No attack came. First Minister Xal was replaced in the next selection cycle by a younger leader who understood the new reality of the galaxy. 10 years after humans took their rightful place in the Council, a new threat appeared that no one had predicted. A strange ship entered Council space from beyond the known galaxy. It attacked without warning, destroying an outpost on the edge of Medusan territory. The Council met in emergency session. For the first time in recorded history, all 17 species agreed immediately on a course of action. Under the leadership of Admiral Patel, now Earth's military counselor, a united fleet formed to defend against the unknown attackers. The battle was hard fought. Several ships were lost. But working together, the Council species drove back the invaders. When it was over, First Minister Telk of the Zodani approached Richardson, who had become Earth's chief representative. They watched together as rescue ships helped damaged vessels, regardless of which species they belong to. Perhaps the humans were right all along, Telk said quietly. We are stronger united than divided. Richardson nodded. That's what we tried to tell you from the beginning. It took losing your patience to make us listen, Telk admitted. No species will ever forget that moment. Let's hope they also remember what came after, Richardson replied. Not domination, not revenge, just the chance for all species to stand as equals. As human ships helped injured Zodani to medical facilities and Medusan crews repaired damaged Earth vessels, it seemed that lesson was finally being learned.